On a recent drinking outing at my local bar, a friend of mine taught me how to remove my shirt in 1 second. Of course, I thought this was completely impossible, and while you may be able to pull it off, no pun intended, in a matter of seconds, there was no way in hell such a thing could be done in exactly 1 second. My friend, however, managed to prove me wrong by not only doing it, but by also repeating the maneuver 3 additional times to drive home the fact that it wasn't a fluke. I marveled at the precision with which his skilled hands glided fluently in the same manner over and over again without the slightest variation. It was like I was watching a master craftsman who had spent a lifetime learning his trade. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I could ever perform the 1 second shirt removal. Hell, it takes me longer to get my zipper down. My friend went on to tell me that he learned this trick from the movie Zardoz, which also happened to be his go-to movie for getting laid. Zardoz is a little-known oddball sci-fi flick that came out in 1974 starring a fresh-faced, half-naked Sean Connery. The plot is confusing, convoluted, and completely unrelated to both the shirt trick and my friend getting laid. He couldn't explain why showing that movie to any young lady he happened to be courting always resulted in sex, but for some reason it just did. My theory was that the movie was so hard to watch that the girls thought, well, I might as well fuck this guy to give me something to do while this stupid movie is going on. He did not agree with or appreciate my theory. That aside, this shirt trick really captured my imagination, and I insisted he teach me how to do it at the right moment. It wasn't a hard thing to do, despite having to pull one of your arms fully inside the shirt in order for the maneuver to work. I watched him demonstrate it slowly a couple more times before I decided I was ready to try it out. Once you put your right arm completely inside the shirt, you had to grab the now loose hanging sleeve with your right hand and simply pull up and over in a swift arching motion. My first attempt was clunky and not as fluid as it needed to be to achieve the exact 1 second mark, but I adjusted on the second try and imitated the move perfectly. At this point, I'm going to give an example of how to do this. So look. Okay, I'm like not trying to like pull some like sexist shit because I know like chicks can't just take their shirts off. So I just want to say that before I do this shit. All right. But like, and then by the way, this trick doesn't really work with like a shirt like this. See what I mean? Like the shirt with buttons and stuff like that. Totally not gonna work. I tried this at home to practice it. What happens is like it gets all stuck and shit. And then also this trick doesn't really work if you have glasses on because they fly off. You know what I mean? But like. You know what? It might be big enough that I don't even have to disrobe. Hold up. All right, so y'all count. All right, here we go. Oh man, I said now bare-chested with my shirt dangling from my fingertips. This is going to change my life. Revolutionize it even. I know, said my friend. It's like the best way to take off your shirt ever. We were out on the sparsely occupied patio of the bar while doing this, which provided the ample space needed for two full-grown men to practice pulling off their shirts. And practice we did. I watched our reflection in the front window of the bar, hypnotized by the majesticness of our synchronized movement. It was quite mesmerizing, to say the least. I remember thinking in that moment that the only reason I would ever have for putting a shirt on again was to take it off in this fantastical fashion. I was complete. Do you take your shirt off like this right before you bang the chick you're watching Zardoz with? Shit, yeah, said my friend. Wait, what? This move is, oh, sorry, this is a typo. This move is like half the trick. You gotta put it together with the movie to really make it a sure thing. Sorry for that little stumble right there. Yeah, I said, performing the move, putting my shirt back on, and then performing it again. I can see how that makes total sense. Yup, said my friend as he whipped his shirt over his head for the umpteenth time. We were now standing side by side, taking our shirts off, putting them on, and taking them back off just as fast. My friend was also now staring into our silvery reflection as our shirts came on and off in sync to the music that was playing only in our heads. I could tell he was just as entranced with it as I was while we continued in our seamless routine, like prima ballerinas, watching themselves in the mirror of a dance studio to ensure their precise movements were always perfect. On again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, then off another time. This was beauty. This was art. This was happiness. We finally had to stop and rest since we had built up such sweat that our dampness was threatening to compromise the move. We sat on the bench of one of the long wooden tables that occupied the patio, and it shook as we collapsed onto it, struggling to catch our breath. Man, I huffed. We are really out of shape. Yeah, he managed between gasps. Mostly you, though. I decided not to argue with him so I could focus on catching my breath. We drank a few more beers while letting our skin dry in the cool breeze of the evening. When it was time to go, I thanked my friend and told him how grateful I was that he taught me such a wonderful thing. Just promise me you'll never use it in vain, he said. I promise. Your promise is all the thanks I need, he replied, and then walked off down in the street in the direction of his house. I got in my car and drove home quickly so I could practice in front of a real mirror for a few hours before I went to sleep. That night, my friend was hit by a bus and killed on his walk home. The driver of the bus said that he walked out in front of her with his shirt pulled up over his head. The police could smell beer on him and thought he was just a drunk who'd wandered into the traffic. I knew better, though. I was the only one who knew what he was really doing. I haven't done the move since. Sure, I've tried, but it just felt different now. It felt wrong. And if I kept doing it, I'd be breaking the promise I made to my friend. Even though he was the one who was doing it in vain, right? I mean, come on. Anyway. I still take my shirt off now, but in the old-fashioned two-handed way. And while it may take me precious extra seconds of my life, I'll use those seconds to remember my friend and the beautiful gift he gave me.